Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Tom.
And we're with Untamed California. Today we're going to be bringing you a list on how to prepare yourself for the John Muir Trail. We don't want you getting out there and realizing you forgot a major important thing. So the first thing we want to get started is everything that we're going to be talking about here on this video today is also going to be on the website that I'm going to provide down in the info. So you don't have to keep running back to this video, rewinding. Just check out that website. You can use it as a conversation piece with the members of your party that are getting going. Because you definitely want to talk about this stuff before you get out on the trail. So the first thing you're going to want to do is discuss how many people are going to be going on this trail. The less amount you have, the easier it is to obtain permits. What are we going with? I think we're going with 3 people for this one.
Yeah, 3. We're going to get 3 permits, right, so?
We are, yeah. And you can submit those permits all together on the same one. That does make it easier to make sure you guys are starting on the same day. The next thing you want to check out is how many days do you have? I know, especially with us, we have completely different schedules. So this is probably the major conversation piece you want to have as a group on making the trip available to everyone. If you don't have the amount of time available to go, maybe do it in sections. We've talked to people that did that. We did a section a few years back.
Last year.
Yeah, it made it nice, not having to worry about our life at home. You have to remember the trail is 211 miles, so kind of know what you're comfortable with hiking with every day, and then kind of chunking that up, dividing it into the amount of days you want to do, and see if that's something you're able to do at a comfortable pace. The next one we want to talk about, number 3, is the permit system. The major thing with this is coming out of Yosemite may be pretty difficult to get a permit through there. Unless you're showing up on the day of and waiting in line. So you want to decide way in advance if you're going to want to be heading from Mount Whitney to Yosemite or Yosemite to Mount Whitney. The permit system does get pretty hairy every year because the amount of people hiking this trail is only increasing.
Yeah, it's going to get packed. I mean, it's a popular trail. Every piece of land in that area is just scenery. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's really never a bad day on the trail. And for whenever you do apply for the permits, you're going to want to do it 24 weeks in advance. And you can apply if you're using the Yosemite one in a 21-day window. So this allows you not to have to go in to your place where you're going to be sending your fax from every day. It kind of gives you that ability to sit back and wait for you to get the email that you've been approved for the day.
And definitely plan, a couple of months in advance to when, the actual deadline's going to be for the permits and all that registration information. Because like Zach was talking about earlier, that, you have to request, if you have a job and all that stuff, you definitely want to let your managers and your superiors know ahead of time. That way they can plan, accordingly around, you not being there for a couple of weeks, depending on, the average of days and miles and all that stuff. So definitely, what is it going to be this year? Is it going to be at the link below? And then we'll have...
Oh yeah, we'll have the link to the permit itself.
Cool.
Down at the link below, and also at the website. You can dig around in there, find out. It gives you exactly the days that you need to plan for to be sending this permit out. Ours is going to be at the end of this month. Because we're hoping to shoot for mid-June. So hopefully we're able to get that one on the first try.
And it is a lottery system, so...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's up to luck on that one.
Yeah.
The next thing we want to touch on is your training schedule. You definitely want to be prepared physically for this trip. You're going to be going 47,000 feet of elevation gain throughout the entire 211 miles. So it's not something that you can just get off the couch and go do. Definitely won't be enjoyable. Do you have any kind of training tips that you like to do?
Yeah, so like Zach had mentioned earlier, last year when we did a small increment before we actually hit trail, a couple of days ahead of time, we got up to actually Mammoth and got acclimated, with the elevation.
Yeah.
So you definitely, if you can, during the planning phase with your group, plan a couple of days ahead of time and get situated with wherever it is you're going to start, if it's going to be like Zach was talking about at Mount Whitney or in Yosemite, just because you want to get used to elevation. I know that when we were doing Clouds Rest a couple of years back, I right actually after I got out of the military, I got definitely elevation sickness. I'm not gonna lie, and it was a bummer, just trying to get through that on top of trying to stay hydrated and making sure that you had enough water. So trying to prepare all of that at the same time, it's crucial sometimes if you guys are just definitely limited with resources because you're trying to cut weight for your pack.
Yeah, so you definitely want to make sure that your body's in shape, your mind's in shape.
Exactly.
Because it'll be a struggle every day, even if your body is in shape. So when you go to do this workout, always try to do a little bit more to push your mind into that mindset that you are able to do the mileage that you're trying for. And you make sure you want to test your body before you're out on the trail.
Absolutely.
The next thing we want to touch on is the gear for your trip. When we went, we had completely different packs.
Yeah.
I went the lighter route. Tom went the really heavy route.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just definitely went, a lot of boys back in at Bragg can probably attest to the Alice pack, just being trained in the military with that readiness and that type of background. You boys can definitely attest to that. So you guys know that, sometimes we have to, hump that gear. And the extra weight that we carry definitely, provides some comfort. But, when we're talking 211 miles, that's a long stretch. So some of the things that maybe, on a 60 mile trail you may bring, we're definitely going to have to, do the math on if we want to actually bring that additional gear 211 miles. So, I think this time around this year, Zach, it's going to be a lot more, efficient, and it will definitely be a lot lighter. I can definitely attest to that. And that's definitely, feedback that I gave for myself coming from last year's 60 mile, was, hey, it was cool. It was awesome having, 80 pounds or whatever, but, not so necessary for 211.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be doing follow-up videos on what we're going to be packing and how we're going to be cutting the weight from our old packs, what we had, into our new, more lighter stages of our hiking life. Because when you do start hiking, your gear is usually heavier because you're not knowing exactly what you want and you're not wanting to spend the big bucks on that gear. So over the years, we have kind of brought our intelligence up on the weight department.
Right.
And we'll be helping you guys bring your weight down.
And another way to, just a tip real quick is, to keep things light, make sure that every piece of equipment that goes into your pack is multi-purpose.
That's a good way to do it, yeah.
So you'll cut 3/4 of your weight if every tool is some way or fashion, whether it's a spoon and a can opener, So it'll save your life in those later days.
A big thing with your gear as well is practice. You want to definitely have the practice to use this gear outside before you go out there. Even if this practicing is not doing weekend trips, you can do it in if you live in a city environment like we do. We can hike around the block, maybe try to do like a mile hike, and then come and set up camp in the backyard. That prepares us for what's going to happen down the road when we're doing a longer hike. Seeing if our gear is rubbing weird, seeing if it's something that's easy to set up, or seeing if it's something that's very easy to fail on us. And giving ourselves the feedback and changing our packs up depending on that. Make sure you have the practice. Too many times people go out without practicing their gear and they're there in the pitch black trying to set up their tent, trying to do something they haven't done before. And in these situations, sometimes gear can be like a life or death thing.
Absolutely.
So make sure you know how to use the gear you have. Make sure you know what you're doing. It's fun when you do know how to use everything. So just get that worked out before you get out there.
And that's a great tip, Zach. I mean, honestly, like, you know, muscle memory, you know, you got to continually do it, you know, and become just, you know, like second nature. That experience, it's going to help you down the road, because the last thing you want to be doing is setting up a tent, you know, after 15 miles on the trail,
to see that,
you know, and it's pitch black like Zach was talking about, you know, and you got to wake up early so that you can get your average in for that next day, because every single day you have to hit, you know what I mean, your milestones. So it's really important to know your gear to be able to put it up quick, you know, bed down, you know, and pop back up and hop back on the trail.
And if you're a beginner watching this and you're worrying a lot right now about that, don't worry too much. We'll start putting more videos up on YouTube about how to set up camp, how to do kind of the simpler things, so that we can kind of help lessen that learning curve that you're going through right now.
That you may be experiencing. But you know, we're all there.
Yeah,
you
we've
know?
all went through that stage.
Yeah, and we're all there.
And we're going to help you get through that stage faster than what it took us to do.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
The next thing you want to make sure you're having down is your logistics on how you're getting to and from the trail.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yosemite, if you haven't been before, or even Mount Whitney, they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like you can get a taxi and go out there cheap. It's going to be something that you're going to need to plan ahead if you're stashing cars, if you're having people drop you off, if you're going to fly in from a different state. Maybe look at airports around that area that have the Yosemite Yards access. And that helps out with logistics a lot. Just make sure you know what you're doing before you get there and before the week of. Because that could be a sticky situation, because you can't hitchhike out of most of those areas too, because it's miles from towns.
Yeah, and I mean, during the op board, you know, or during the actual planning phase and logistics of it all, make sure that at least 2 or more people know exactly where you're going to be throughout the hike. You know, because time and time again there are, you know, no signal zones, you know, straight up dead zones, guys, and you have to at least have someone know, you know, generally, just in case, you know, you don't meet a checkpoint, just in case, you know, something they can't reach out to you, your family members can't reach out to you, friends and family. So that is something definitely to add to your planning.
That's a big thing when going outdoors. Make sure someone else knows where you are, when you'll be checking back in with them, and it gives you the peace of mind if you do get lost, and it gives your family the peace of mind too. Another one is you're going to want to be checking out your food situation. You can't carry all of your food from the start. However, there are going to be resupply spots throughout the trail. These resupplies do cost money though, so you kind of want to budget that into your thing. Check out how much it costs to have your packages be held at these spots. You will come across some post office areas. You may have to hitchhike into towns to resupply. However, the food is the biggest thing, because you're going to have to be sending it out weeks in advance as well, so you can't have perishables being sent out. It's going to be have to sit there in that post office or whatever place you're sending it to until you get there. So that's probably the major thing that we're kind of looking at, is how we're going to get this food packed down, whether we're going to have someone drop food off for us and we meet up with them, or if we are going to go the route of resupplying the post office.
And if we do, regardless of what we do, for one, I just want to let you know that Zach and I are definitely going to be making videos to let you know along the process of what we actually decide.
Yeah.
But I also think that, you know, I'm stemming up kind of like an idea of where we may make some videos on, if we do go, you know, the shipping route, that we're going to actually freeze dry, or actually, you know, preserve our own, you know, perishables if we do have to have some, in a unique way, or just in a you know, more efficient way.
Yeah, we'll go more in depth on every one of these steps coming up throughout the next couple months of our planning. And lastly, make sure you pay your bills. and
Yeah.
have your dogs looked on or your pets. Anything that's being left at home, make sure it's taken care of before you leave. Make sure you have someone that's able to take care of your stuff. You can't just get up and leave your things at home. That's a big thing with myself because I have pets, so I'll have to find family members to look after them for me while I'm gone.
Same here. Yeah.
So you can have that discussion with your close relatives or someone who you can trust.
Yeah, definitely. You know, friend or neighbor. You know, that'll at least keep eyes on things. Check on your place if you don't have an alarm system or something like that. But definitely, we appreciate you watching our video and taking the time out of your busy schedule to, for one, subscribe and become a follower and, continue to support us throughout the journey and throughout, all of our growth on the trail and off the trail, preparing for the next hike, whatever it may be. So we have, right around 6 months before we actually hit, trailhead. But, you folks are going to be right alongside this journey with us from, here on out. So buckle up. It's going to be fun.
It will be.
And I think Zach and I are going to be definitely bringing some
I'm super stoked.
entertainment to it. So stay tuned. Stay untamed. Thanks for watching.
Later, guys.